One of the interesting and yet annoying things about education legislation in the US for undocumented students is that each state has been left to create its own sets of laws that govern how and if students can access college education and fin aid or be prevented from them. So in order to help you navigate through this array of possibilities, we've got a handy dandy map. First, let's start with the good stuff, the pink states. That's Washington, California, New Mexico, and Texas. In these states, there is tuition equity and financial aid eligibility across the entire state. What this means is that undocumented students have access to in-state tuition, not out-of-state and not international rates. And as far as financial aid goes, it means students have access to grants, scholarships, as well as subsidized and unsubsidized loans at the state level. The green states, Minnesota and Illinois, have tuition equity laws, but do not offer state financial aid. They only offer scholarships, so no grants and no subsidized or unsubsidized loans. Just a tier down are the purple states, and there are quite a few. Oregon, Utah, Colorado, Kansas, Nebraska, Kentucky, Florida, Maryland, New Jersey, New York, and Connecticut. These states are on the right track as far as tuition equity, which means again, the students have access to in-state tuition across the state, but they are completely banned from state financial aid as well as scholarships. Then we get into the kind of states. First off, there's Michigan, Rhode Island, and Hawaii who hold down the yellow states, where undocumented students are offered tuition equity at some universities, but not all, and they are completely banned from state financial aid. Therefore, if you're going to apply to colleges in these states, you have to ask your specific university if you are eligible for in-state tuition. Next, we have these sort of awkward states where they kind of don't know what they want. Gray states such as Arizona, Missouri, Ohio, Virginia, and Massachusetts have legislations that allow undocumented students to attend schools, but there's no tuition equity or financial aid. What this means is that if you're undocumented in these states, you can attend college, but you'd be paying international rates. The exception is if you have DACA, which will allow you to have tuition equity at some schools, but still no financial aid. So, if you're a DACA recipient, make sure to check with your university to see if they do have these equity laws. Blue states have no known laws for tuition equity or state financial aid. And unfortunately, this sack of indeciders makes up over 40% of the country, 21 states in total. They include Nevada, Idaho, Wyoming, North Dakota, South Dakota, Iowa, Wisconsin, Indiana, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, Delaware, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Tennessee, North Carolina, and FLIPPIN Alaska. Why Alaska? Why? Thus, undocumented students may be able to attend some colleges, but they would have to pay international rates or out-of-state rates for tuition. Then we cross straight up into Haterville, Alabama and South Carolina. You're only able to attend college here if you have DACA, and even then it's only at some schools. Otherwise, undocumented students are banned. And then the notorious orange states, Georgia and Montana. These states completely ban undocumented students from attending university throughout the state. Be aware though that there are movements of people who are fighting against these laws. In Georgia, there's a place called Dream University that's allowing undocumented students to have at least some sort of access to college education. And then in Montana, there's groups that are lobbying against these laws in order to, again, allow undocumented students to have a chance at tuition equity. If you find yourself in a state that doesn't have tuition equity laws or financial aid laws, you could also even try turning to schools out of state or even private universities. Since private universities aren't tied to the government at all, they make their own rules, and so sometimes they may be able to provide funding for you that would be more accessible than a university in your state. If you do get accepted to a private university and they don't offer any money at all, you aren't obligated to go. A video will also soon be created about scholarships specific to Dreamers, so make sure to check that out as soon as we have it up. We got you. If you happen to live in a state that doesn't offer tuition equity laws or financial aid laws, such as the red or orange states, realize that change does happen. If you're passionate about this, realize that there's people out there who are passionate about this as well. Florida is one of the states that has recently won tuition equity. We can make change happen, and that's why it's important to join the movement so that way we can have access to these rights, just like any other person in the US.